They mocked my clothes, but the world bowed at my name. My children forgot who raised them. Until the CEO said, "Good evening, ma'am. Tonight, the truth will shatter their pride." My name is Arya Malik, a 58-year-old woman who never asked for much, except love from the children I raised with my whole heart. But life is cruelest when the people you love forget your worth. It was a bright afternoon. The kind that looks warm outside but cuts cold inside when someone speaks without kindness. I had just stepped out of the small clothing stall near my apartment. I bought a soft gray sweater, nothing fancy, nothing branded, just something warm enough to keep the winter away. The sweater cost me the small savings I'd kept aside for the month, but I didn't mind. Mothers are used to adjusting after all. I'd spent my whole life adjusting. I walked toward the bus stop when suddenly I saw a black SUV slowing down. The windows rolled down, and I saw the faces I once kissed goodnight every day. My children. My son, Zayden, 28 years old, handsome, successful, always dressed in corporate suits. And my daughter, Mira, 25, fashion blogger, influencer, drowning in designer labels. Zayden leaned back in his leather seat, sunglasses high on his nose. "Mom," he said, confused. "Why are you wearing that?" I looked down at my sweater. "What's wrong with it?" I smiled softly. Mira snorted. "Actually," laughed Mom, "that sweater looks like it's from the 90s. You really go outside looking like that?" Her eyes scanned me like I was something embarrassing she didn't want to be seen with. My smile wilted. Zayden tapped his fingers on the steering wheel and looked away. "Mom, just try to dress a bit more presentably. People know who I am now. It reflects on me." The words hit deeper than the winter wind. Presentably, reflects on him. I birthed him, and now he worried I'd stain his reputation. I nodded quietly. What else could a mother do? Before I could speak, Mira's phone started recording a story for her Instagram. "Guys, look at what my mom bought." She giggled, zooming in on my sweater. "Isn't this cute? Like vintage. The kind of vintage that wasn't praise. The kind that was mockery wrapped in sarcasm." I stepped back. "You're recording me?" She shrugged carelessly. "It's just a joke, Mom, don't be dramatic. Content is content." My throat tightened. Zayden rolled the window up halfway. "We're late for a dinner with the CEO. Try not to call us later, okay? We're busy." And the window closed. The car drove away. Just like that. No kiss. No hug. No take care, Mom. Only the coldness of a heart that had forgotten its home. I stood there at the bus stop, sweater pressed to my body like a shield. But it didn't protect me from the way my heart cracked. Not because they mocked my clothes, but because they mocked me. Not long after, an old woman beside me said gently, "Daughter, you deserve better." But I smiled at her with trembling lips. "No, I raised them. Maybe I made mistakes." She shook her head slowly. "No mistake justifies a child losing compassion." Her words melted into my chest like salt into a wound. When my husband, Doe, passed away, I was only 3 broken alone. But I had my 2 children. I took 3 jobs. Morning, receptionist at a tiny clinic; evening, cashier at a bakery; night, sewing clothes for neighbors. Sleep was a luxury. Food was a privilege. But their education, that was a necessity. I gave up jewelry. Sold my wedding bangles. Walked instead of taking buses. Ate leftovers. Yet I never let them feel my hunger. Every time they came home, I smiled like the world was perfect. Because a mother's heart hides pain so her children can dream. But dreams can turn into arrogance if you feed them too well. Days passed. Zayden texted me only when he needed laundry done or home-cooked food for his work lunches. Mira visited only if she needed aesthetic backgrounds for her Instagram. Not once did either ask me, "Mom, are you okay?" And yet I continued loving them. Because mothers don't stop loving, but children easily stop respecting. The turning point came when I got a phone call. A strange voice said, "Mrs. Arya, we're calling from Nova Corporate. Our CEO wants to personally invite you to our annual awards gala." I froze. "The CEO personally? For me?" "Yes, ma'am. He specifically asked for you. He said no event is complete without you." My hands shook. No one, absolutely no one, had spoken to me with that much respect in years. I whispered, "There must be some mistake." "No mistake, ma'am." His exact words were, "She is the reason I am where I am. Invite her with full honor." Tears gathered in my eyes. Who could the CEO be, who remembered my name when my own children had forgotten my worth? I told Zayden and Mira that I had an invitation to their company's biggest event. Their reaction? They laughed, actually laughed. "Mom, you at a corporate gala?" Mira chuckled. "What will you wear?" "That gray sweater." "And Mom, please," Zayden added, adjusting his Rolex. "Don't embarrass us. Just stay in the corner or something if you end up going." I swallowed the hurt. Little did they know, tomorrow night, Their entire world was going to flip upside down. They laughed at my clothes today, but tomorrow night, the CEO will walk straight past my children and bow to me, and that moment will shatter every ounce of arrogance they ever had. When the doors opened, my children realized the world didn't spin around them. The night of the Nova corporate annual gala arrived like a heavy breath before a storm. My tiny apartment felt unusually silent. The chair I sat on creaked softly under me. A cup of tea sat untouched on the table. I didn't know what to wear. All I had were the same few outfits, simple, clean, but nothing that matched the shine of a corporate event my children considered elite. I looked at myself in the mirror. The lines under my eyes, my hair streaked with wisdom more than age, my hands rough from years of labor, no diamond, no gold, just a simple mother. For a moment, I felt small, like I didn't belong to the world I was invited to. But then I reminded myself, respect is not stitched into clothes. It is stitched into character. I tied my hair into a neat bun, wore a navy blue dress I had kept for years, ironed it 3 times hoping the creases would disappear. They didn't, but I went anyway, not knowing the universe had planned something unimaginable for me that night. The Nova corporate hall glowed like a palace, crystal lights, golden carpets, dozens of celebrities, executives, entrepreneurs, all walking like they ruled the world. As I entered, the guards paused. One of them straightened his tie and asked respectfully, "Name, ma'am?" "Arya," I whispered, unsure. "Arya Malik." The guard's eyes instantly widened. "Ah, ma'am, please come right in. The CEO gave strict instructions that you are not to wait, not even for a second." Heads turned. People actually looked at me, not with judgment, but with curiosity, maybe even respect. I walked inside, holding my little purse close to my chest like a shield, and then I saw them, my children. Zayden stood among his colleagues, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. Mira was taking selfies with influencers by the champagne fountain. Both looked radiant, both looked confident, both looked like they owned this world. And then, their eyes landed on me. Shock, annoyance, embarrassment. The trifecta of ungratefulness. Mira rushed toward me first, grabbing my arm. "Mom, why did you actually come?" she whispered harshly. "This is not your kind of place." Zayden followed, frustration in his voice. "Mom, why didn't you tell us you'd be here? You could ruin my image in front of my team. At least sit in the back, okay? Don't come near the front stage." He didn't even realize how loud he was. People turned, some frowned. But he didn't care. My heart sank, but before I could respond, a sudden hush fell over the hall. The CEO had arrived. A tall man in his mid-40s walked through the golden doors. Handsome, confident, powerful, a presence so commanding that people naturally stepped aside. Everyone whispered, "That's him, the youngest CEO in the industry." Elias Kingston, the genius behind Nova. Zayden straightened his suit instantly. "This is my chance," he murmured. "Mom, go stand somewhere else. Don't make it awkward." He pushed me gently toward the wall. I didn't resist. Mothers rarely resist their children even when it hurts. But then, Elias Kingston's eyes scanned the room, searching, looking, like someone looking for a long-lost name. And then, his gaze landed on me. His expression shifted instantly, like he found what he was looking for. He walked, not toward the directors, not toward the investors, not toward the VIPs. He walked straight toward the woman my children hid against the wall. Toward me, people stared. Whispers bloomed. Phones rose to record. My children froze. Elias stopped right in front of me, and then he bowed. Yes, bowed to me. My breath caught. People gasped. My children turned pale. "Good evening, Mom," Elias said warmly, voice full of respect. "Thank you for honoring us with your presence." He extended his hand, not to shake, but to guide me forward like royalty. I stared at him, stunned. I think you've mistaken me for someone else," I whispered. Elias smiled, eyes kind. "No, Ms. Arya, I haven't mistaken you. I've been waiting for you for many years." My lips parted me, but, "How do you?" Before I could finish, he said the words that made the hall go silent. "You may not remember me, but you are the reason I'm standing here today. If it wasn't for you, Nova wouldn't exist." The hall erupted into whispers. My children's faces drained of all color. Zayden stuttered, "Why, you know my mom." Elias turned toward him, not with anger, but with disappointment. "Know her?" He placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "I owe this woman everything." Before I could speak, Elias addressed the stage. "Everyone," he announced, voice powerful, "I want to introduce someone very important to me." Spotlights turned to me. People began clapping automatically, but I stood frozen. Me, a simple mother. Someone CEOs don't even look at twice. Elias spoke into the mic. Many years ago, when I was a struggling student, I worked nights at a small bakery. I had no money, no home, no family, and one night, I fainted outside the shop from exhaustion. The hall listened breathlessly. This woman right here brought me inside, fed me with her own hands, and slipped $50 into my pocket while thinking I was asleep. My eyes widened, a memory surfaced. A teenage boy, shivering in the cold, whom I took and fed warm soup. Gave him money quietly. I never saw him again. Elias continued, she told me, don't give up. The world is cruel, but you don't have to become like it. Those words kept me alive. His voice cracked. I promised myself, if I ever became someone, the first person I'd thank would be her. The crowd grew emotional. Mira covered her mouth. Zayden's hands shook. And today, Elias said, she is finally here. The woman who saved my life. He turned to me. Ma'am Arya Malik, you are my inspiration, my strength, my real mentor, my silent guardian. And today, I want the world to know, you're the true backbone of Nova. Tears streamed down my face. But my children, they broke. Tears welled in their eyes, not from pride, but from the crushing weight of shame. Please, come sit at the front in the seat reserved for you, reserved. For me. I looked back at my children, their eyes full of regret, guilt, disbelief. Mira whispered, Mom, we're sorry. Zayden choked. Why didn't you ever tell us you helped him? I smiled softly through tears. Because kindness isn't meant to be advertised. It's meant to be lived. And I walked forward, toward the front row, toward the spotlight, toward the respect I hadn't felt in years. Tonight, the world bowed to me. But tomorrow, my children will face something even heavier. The truth about the legacy I built in silence. Because Elias wasn't the only one I changed. There was a secret bigger than him. A secret I had kept for decades. When the lights dimmed, my children finally saw who their mother truly was. The applause faded slowly. But the weight in my heart only grew heavier. Elias guided me to the front row, of velvet chair embroidered with gold, marked, reserved, honor guest of the year, honor guest. Me, a mother who had spent years stitching clothes in dim lights. A woman mocked for her old sweater just yesterday. A heart forgotten by her own children. I sat with trembling hands. Elias stood beside me like a guard protecting something sacred. Around us, powerful men and women whispered, she must be someone important. She knows the CEO personally. She's treated like royalty. For the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. But just a few seats behind me, my children sat in silence. Zayden's jaw was tight. Mira's eyeliner had smudged from tears she tried to hide. They both kept staring at me, not with embarrassment anymore, but with a painful realization. They had mocked the very woman the world respected. Elias took the stage again, but instead of speaking about profits, expansions, or awards, he began with my story. Some successes, he said, aren't built with money or degrees, but with compassion. He turned toward me. This woman helped me when no one else did. She gave me warmth when the world gave me cold. My eyes burned with tears again. Mothers, we cry not for pain, but when our hearts finally feel seen. Then Elias added, and I want to announce something tonight, a surprise meant only for her. The hall gasped. I looked at him, confused. He smiled, the kind of smile that hid something enormous. A giant screen lit up behind him, the words appearing in bold. Project Arya to 51% ownership transfer. My breath caught. My heart hammered so hard I clutched my chest. People gasped loudly. Mira covered her mouth to keep from screaming. Zayden's eyes went wide, filled with pure disbelief. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Elias stepped closer to me. Ma'am, for years I tried to find you. All I had was your name, Mrs. Malik, and the memory of your kindness. He paused. I've been planning this for a long time. I wanted to give you more than just thanks. I wanted to give you the life you deserved. He continued, voice strong. So starting today, you are the majority owner of NOVA's social welfare division, the entire project line dedicated to helping underprivileged youth. Tears streamed down my face. I shook my head. Elias, this is too much. I only gave you $50. He knelt beside my chair, a CEO kneeling in front of a mother no one valued. No, he whispered. You gave me hope. It saved my life. That is worth more than every dollar I own. The crowd stood, clapping, some crying, some cheering, some recording the moment that would go viral in minutes. But the only faces I searched for were my children's. Zayden stood slowly. His hands shook, his lips trembled. He walked to the front row, the same row he told me I didn't belong in just hours ago. He knelt beside me. Mom. His voice cracked. I don't deserve to sit next to you. My heart broke all over again. Mira followed, tears streaming openly. She knelt too. Mom, we failed you. We mocked you. We humiliated you, and all this time, you were the greatest person in the room. The hall watched silently. A mother, her children. a legacy unfolding like a forgotten story being read aloud after decades. I placed a shaking hand on their heads. Children make mistakes, but mothers, we never stop loving. Stand up, I whispered through tears. My love for you doesn't vanish because of your mistakes. They sobbed hard for the first time in years. I held them both the way I once did when they were small. But this moment was only the beginning. After the awards ended, Elias requested to speak to my children privately. We moved to a quiet corner of the hall. Elias's usually calm expression had hardened, not with anger but with truth. He looked at Zayden first. You work in my company. You talk about leadership, respect, discipline. He looked at me. But you couldn't show these to your own mother? Zayden lowered his eyes. Elias turned to Mira. You post about values, gratitude, family love. His voice sharpened. But when the real test came, you failed. Mira burst into silent tears. He looked at them both. I'm giving your mother something far greater than you ever did. Respect, honor, and her rightful place in this world. His voice softened. But understand this, from today onward, she is not just your mother. She is my partner, my mentor, and the future face of the Nova Foundation. My children stared at him like they had heard the impossible. Because it was impossible. A mother forgotten in a one-room apartment. A woman mocked for her old clothes. A heart neglected by her own children. Now held the power that made CEOs bow. As the hall emptied, Elias approached me again. Ma'am, he said gently, there is something else you need to know. He took a deep breath. It wasn't just that one night you helped me. His voice trembled. You changed the lives of many students. You fed them, gave them money, helped them pass exams, encouraged them when life looked hopeless. I froze. How? How do you know that? He smiled softly. Because all those students, they still remember you. And when I began searching for you, I found dozens of stories about the woman who helps quietly. I covered my mouth. My heart felt like it was melting. He continued, you didn't just save me, you saved many, you inspired a generation. My children gasped. Elias placed his hand over mine gently. So I created the Arya Fund, to help thousands of children the way you helped us. My legs gave out. If Zayden hadn't held me, I would have collapsed. Me, a mother who struggled for years. A woman mocked in public. I changed lives without knowing. I found my voice trembling. Elias, I only did what any mother would do. He shook his head. No doubt you did what a greatness-filled soul does. My children looked at me with guilt, awe, and disbelief. Mom, Zayden whispered, why didn't you tell us any of this? I wiped a tear. Because I never helped expecting anything in return. Kindness is not a business. It's a seed you plant hoping it grows somewhere someday. I held them close. And tonight, it finally bloomed. But I knew something they didn't. There was a secret deeper than all of this. Something I had hidden from them for decades. Something even Elias didn't know. The truth about their father. The reason I struggled alone. The reason I had to raise them through pain, debt, and hunger. The reason I never remarried. The reason I worked 3 jobs. And the reason I vowed never to let my children grow arrogant. But fate had other plans, and now it was time for them to hear the truth. They finally learned who I was. But they still didn't know what I survived. Before they can understand my worth, they must hear the story of the man who broke me, and the secret I've carried for 25 years. Before they admired me, they had to learn what nearly destroyed me. The gala lights had dimmed. People left in glittering gowns and tailored tuxedos. But the weight in my heart only grew heavier. Respect, honor, recognition. They were beautiful, but tonight was not complete. Not until my children heard the truth I had buried deep inside my chest for 25 years. A truth that shaped our lives. A truth I had kept hidden so they could grow up without poison in their veins. A truth that would break them but also set them free. Elias had offered us a car and driver, but I declined. Tonight was a night I needed to walk through slowly. So Zayden, Mira, and I stepped outside to the cool night air. The city lights flickered like stars brought down to the streets, but none of us spoke. Zayden finally broke the silence. Mom, can we talk at home? His voice trembled, a grown man sounding like a child again. I nodded. We rode home in my small old car. None of us touched our phones, none played music. Silence tightened around us like a thread pulled too hard. Finally, we reached my apartment, the same apartment they once mocked for being too small, too old, too plain. But tonight, they entered it with reverence. Mira placed my purse on the table gently. Zayd and took out water for each of us. It was strange. Tender. New Mom, Mira whispered, please tell us everything. Everything you hid. I closed my eyes, and the past came crashing back. I was 19 when I met Rayan. Tall. Charming. Eyes warm like he held sunlight inside him. He swept me off my feet before I even learned how to stand for myself. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. He made me laugh. He brought flowers. He held my hand like he feared losing me. When we got married, I truly believed God had written my happiness in stone. When you're young, you think love is an anchor. You don't realize it can also become a knife. When Zayden was 4 and Mira was just 2, Rayan lost his job. At first, he applied everywhere. Woke up early. But months passed, rejections piled, and something inside him changed. A bitterness, a shadow, a coldness. He began drinking. At first, just on weekends. Then on weeknights. Then every night. The flowers stopped, the laughter faded. His warmth dimmed into something hollow. One night, he came home angry, drunk, shouting, "You're useless. You can't even help me get a job." I tried to calm him. "I'm working 2 shifts, Rayan. I'm trying. He smashed a glass. The children cried. That night was the first of many. It was winter. Cold enough to make bones ache. I was sewing clothes late at night, trying to finish orders for extra money. Rayan came home furious. He had been drinking with the wrong people. He slammed the door, threw his jacket, grabbed my sewing machine and threw it across the room. "You think you can run this house without me?" I held my children close. "Rayan, please. The kids are here." He grabbed my arm so hard I cried out. Zayden, only 4 years old, tried to pull him away. "Don't hurt Mama." Rayan shoved him. My baby fell and hit his forehead on the table corner. Blood everywhere, I screamed. Rayan froze like someone waking up from a nightmare he created. He stepped back, trembling. I didn't mean. Arya, I took both children. And I left. In the freezing cold. With no money. No clothes. No idea where to go. But I left. Because some storms don't stop. You have to walk out of the house on fire. The years of quiet suffering, Mom. Mira whispered, tears streaming. "You never told us." I held her hand. "How could I? You were children. I didn't want you to see him as a monster. I wanted you to grow without carrying his sins." Zayden's chin trembled. "So he left us. Just like that," I sighed. "He didn't leave. He begged me to come back. He went to rehab twice. Got clean. But he never found his way back to the man he used to be." I looked down. "And when he fell sick, I was the one who took care of him." Their eyes widened. "What?" "Yes," I whispered. "I cooked for him, took him to the hospital. Paid for his medications, watched over him until the very end." Zayden whispered, voice breaking, "Why? After everything he did?" I looked at my hands. "Because he was still your father, and I didn't want you to grow up angry at him." I wiped my tears slowly. "I wanted you to grow up soft, not hardened by hate." I stood slowly and walked to a small drawer. From inside, I pulled out a sealed envelope. "Before he passed," I said softly, "your father left a letter. I never showed it to you." Zayden and Mira leaned in, breath held. I opened the letter, the handwriting messy, shaky, but every word stabbed my heart all over again. "Arya, I failed you. I failed our children. I failed myself. You carried a weight I dropped. You raised them alone. You saved them from becoming me. If I could erase the pain I caused, I would. If there is any justice, they will grow up like you, humble, kind, compassionate. Don't tell them what I did. Let them believe their father was a good man." Rayan. The letter trembled in my hands. My children were silently crying. "Mom, you carried all of this alone?" Mira whispered. "Yes," I said, "because mothers are built to carry storms quietly." Zayden held my hands tightly. "We were cruel to you, and you protected us even from the truth about our own father." I touched his cheek. "You grew arrogant because I gave you a life where you never had to see pain." They broke into sobs again. But I wasn't done. There was another truth I had to reveal, one I had hidden even deeper. Children. Elias wasn't the only one I helped. They looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" Zayden asked. I sat down. "When your father left, I didn't only work jobs. I started helping struggling students with tutoring, guidance, food, money, sometimes shelter." They blinked. "Mom, you." I nodded. "I tutored hundreds. Fed dozens. Helped them finish degrees." I hesitated. "Many of them grew successful." Zayden's eyes widened. "Mom, how successful?" I swallowed. "One owns a chain of clinics. One works in the government. To became engineers. One became a lawyer." I lowered my voice. "They all send me money quietly every year. As gratitude." My children froze. "What?" Mira whispered. "The reason we never starved," I continued, "was not because of luck, but because of their silent support." Zayden stood up suddenly. "Mom, are you saying you helped all these people before helping Elias?" I nodded gently. "They call me Mom, Arya." Tears streamed down his face. "Mom, you're a whole institution by yourself." But then, I revealed the last truth, the one I never wanted to speak. "The money you use now, the lifestyle you enjoy." My children looked at me with wide eyes. "The savings you access, the university fees I paid, the rent I covered when you started working." I paused. "They were not from your father's insurance." Zayden's breath hitched. Mira leaned forward. "Then I said it. Other people, the people I helped, were silently sponsoring your life." Silence crushed the room. My children were not just ashamed. They were shattered. Their entire world built on the belief they were superior crumbled in a single moment. They finally knew what I endured, but they still didn't know the final truth, the truth that would decide their future. Because soon, their lives, careers, and inheritance would depend on one brutal decision I had kept hidden for decades. When I opened the final envelope, my children realized their future depended on a truth they never imagined. The night had grown still. The city outside seemed to fade away, as if even the world held its breath for what I was about to reveal. My children sat beside me on the old sofa, the same sofa they once refused to sit on because it was outdated. Tonight, they sat on it like it was a throne of truth. Zayden's hands were clasped so tight his knuckles had turned white. Mira sat with her head lowered, tears silently dripping onto her dress. They were no longer the arrogant adults they had been just a day ago. They looked like my babies again. Broken, fragile, afraid, and desperate to understand the mother they had misunderstood all their lives. I took a deep breath. There is one last thing, I whispered. The thing I never wanted to tell you, but now, you must know. I opened the drawer again. This time, I pulled out a thick brown envelope, older than both of them, worn on the edges, like it had carried storms inside it. Their eyes followed my every move. What is that, Mom? Mira asked softly. I held it in my trembling hands. This is your father's final will. They froze. Zayden swallowed hard. I thought he left nothing. He did, I said quietly, but I didn't want it to affect who you became. So I hid it all these years. Their breath caught. I slowly opened the envelope. Inside were 2 documents, both stained by time, and by tears I shed when no one was watching. I placed them on the table. Before he died, your father left a decision in my hands, I said, a decision that would decide your entire future. They stared terrified. What decision? Zayden whispered. I looked into their eyes with the weight of 25 years. He left me everything, the house, the land, his savings, and whatever assets he had left, but in his will, he wrote a condition. Their hearts pounded. Mira's lips trembled. What condition? I closed my eyes for a moment, and then spoke the words that shattered the world. The children will inherit everything, only if they grow up humble. Silence cracked like lightning. The air thickened. Mira covered her mouth. Zayden leaned back as if he'd been punched. I continued, your father feared you might inherit his flaws, so he asked me to raise you differently. I looked at them. I promised I would. Their faces crumpled. Mom, Zayden whispered, have we failed his condition? Tears filled my eyes. Yes, I whispered, voice shaking, you grew arrogant, you forgot kindness, you disrespected me. Mira broke down, sobbing into her hands. But, I continued softly, you are my children, I wasn't going to let one mistake destroy your future. I paused, but what you did that day, laughing at me, mocking my clothes, belittling me in front of your friends. My voice cracked. That was the day I finally opened this envelope. I realized I had protected you from consequences for too long. They listened, trembling. You thought you were better than everyone, that you were embarrassed of me. I wiped my tears silently. But you didn't know. I had the power to take away everything you relied on. Zayden looked at me with wide, horrified eyes. Mom, are you saying you were going to cut us off? I looked at him gently. I wasn't going to do anything, I simply stopped protecting you. He blinked, confused. What do you mean? I sighed deeply. The ARIA Fund students who sent money. The quiet donations that helped me raise you. The people who supported us because I helped them. I looked at both of them. They all warned me. They told me I was raising you to softly, to comfortably. That one day, you might grow ungrateful. I paused. I defended you every time. Their tears flowed freely now. But the day you mocked me, I said quietly, I realized they were right. Mira whispered through tears. So what did you do, Mom? I reached into the envelope again, and pulled out a second sheet. Their father's amendment letter, the one I had prayed to never use. I contacted every student I ever helped, I said softly, the doctors, engineers, lawyers, the successful ones. They stared confused, and I asked them one question, I continued. Their voices trembled. What question? I looked into their broken eyes. Should I still give you your father's inheritance? Both my children froze. Their faces drained of color. Zayden whispered, voice shaking, what? What did they say? I swallowed the lump in my throat. They said, Arya, they must earn it. Mira sobbed harder. So Zayden whispered, you were going to take everything. I shook my head gently. No, but I was going to make you face the life I lived. I looked at my hands. The hands that worked until they bled. You are going to learn struggle, work hard, feel what hunger means, what humility means. Tears fell from my eyes. I wasn't punishing you. I was teaching you, because I love you too much to let arrogance destroy you. They broke. Zayden fell to his knees, holding my hands. Mom, please. Please forgive us. We didn't know. We were foolish. Mira hugged my lap, crying. We will change, Mom. Just give us a chance. I placed my shaking hands on their heads. My children, I whispered, you already got your second chance tonight. They both froze. I smiled softly. When Elias honored me, when the world respected me, when you saw the truth about me, I wiped their tears gently. That was the moment my test ended. Their eyes widened. What test? The test to see if you could rise above your arrogance. I cupped their cheeks. And tonight, you did, Zayden whispered, hope slowly returning to his eyes. Mom, what about the inheritance? I smiled warmly. Your father left everything to you, and I'm giving it all back. Their tears fell anew, but this time from relief. But there is one condition, I said. They straightened. From today onwards, you will live with humility, with kindness, with gratitude. I held their hands, and you will never again be ashamed of where you came from. They nodded hard. We won't, Mom. Never again. I smiled through tears. Good, because the world may call me a hero now. But I never needed that. I pulled them close. All I ever wanted was for my children to stand tall, not on pride, but on values. They hugged me tighter than ever before, and for the first time in years, my small home felt full again, warm again, alive again. The next morning, a video went viral worldwide. A clip from the gala, the CEO bowing to an elderly woman, the children watching with tears, the hall clapping. The caption read, "Respect the mother who raised you, one day the world might." Millions shared it. Millions cried. Millions found pieces of their own mothers in me. And for the first time, my children stood behind me, not as shadows of arrogance, but as children reborn with humility. Zayden resigned from his job and reapplied, starting from a lower position, wanting to rebuild himself the right way. Mira started volunteering every weekend, helping homeless children with the same compassion I once had. And me, I didn't need riches, I didn't need titles. I gained something far more precious, my children back. They finally learned who I truly was. But now, it was time for them to become who they were meant to be. In the end, life didn't change because the world honored me. It changed because my children finally opened their eyes. They learned that respect isn't bought with wealth or status, but earned through humility, kindness, and gratitude. And as we stood together in that small home, the same home they once looked down upon, I realized something powerful. A mother's love doesn't seek applause. It seeks understanding. I didn't need millions. I didn't need titles. All I ever wanted was for my children to return to the hearts they were born with. And that night they did. Our story didn't end with success or fame. It ended with something far greater. A broken family stitched back together by truth, remorse, and love.